Are you ready, Klim?
I'm ready.
How you doing, everybody? And welcome to the Moffett on the Mic radio show. We are live on a Monday night, courtesy of the A1 Sports Network. A little bit of a condensed show today, as Klim has a life outside of this network, so he's got shit to do. But as always, as we've said, you can follow the show on Instagram at Moff on the Mic and on my Facebook page as well. Follow Klim and the A1 Sports Network on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You can subscribe to the show, courtesy of Apple Podcasts. Like, comment, leave us a 5-star review because it makes us feel oh so special. Klim, we are countdown to a little bit less than 3 days until Thursday's NFL draft. We have waited. I am sick and fucking tired of all the mock drafts. I've had enough. Some of the mock drafts are just not even worth mentioning, especially when some of them have Kenny Pickett being drafted second overall by the Detroit Lions. But Klim and I are going to give our version of our mock draft to close out the show. We'll have a couple of other things to talk about. Klim, I am mentally and physically exhausted from mock drafts.
Yes.
And I enjoy them. I enjoy reading them. Don't get me wrong. I really do enjoy reading them. However, you can tell when they're not even trying to make it interesting. You can tell when they're just trying to just make shit up as they go along. And for me, that's just like where I draw the line. Like I said, the other one I saw, I think it was Chad Reuter, who writes for NFL.com. He had Kenny Pickett going number 2 overall to the Detroit Lions. Okay? It's when you're just not trying anymore. There was numerous mock drafts that I saw Malik Willis being picked second overall. All right. Actually, a funny note, if you watch every Friday, Jake Asman always has Cole Thompson on. Mm-hmm. So last week they always do a mock draft, okay? So, and they do it through a simulator. If you use Pro Football Focus, if you use Pro Football Network, they have a mock draft simulator where it can simulate trades and all that stuff. And Jake hit the mock draft simulator and had the Lions taking Derek Stingley, number 2. So Jake goes, that is so unbelievable. We are going to start the simulation again. Because it was just not believable. Like it was just so ridiculous. So I am just mentally and physically exhausted with mock drafts. So this is my one and only mock draft, and this is it, whether I get it wrong or not. Normally, I kind of did it as what I would do, but also the opposite of what you hope the opposite happens of some of these picks.
Right.
We'll get to that. We'll round out the show with that. And other than that, we were scheduled to have Jamie D'Amico on to talk some Buffalo Bills with us. He unfortunately had to cancel, so we're going to have him on. I don't know if next week, but Klim is going to work that out. We're also looking to have once again back on the show, as always, Jake Asman and the very lovely Taylor Dahl. So we're hoping we can have them on after the draft. So we will definitely be talking to that. Klim, what's going on?
No, I had a great weekend. 2 of my best friends got married, so I was, 9 sheets to the wind since Friday. But
good man down. Cheers.
Yeah, I'm drinking. So I drink iced tea. I have been nonstop drinking alcohol since Saturday.
No, I expect nothing less at a wedding. So that's what you do.
No, it was a good time. I wanted to give them a quick congratulations to Tommy and Bree. Like 2 of my best friends in the whole world. So it was very exciting to be part. I was one of the groomsmen too, so it was very exciting to be part of the wedding as well.
All right. So when are you getting hitched?
Oh, when I find someone worthy enough to be Mrs. Klim.
Okay. So there are any future single ladies out there, all this could be yours.
Yes, all of this.
Banner, the neon sign, the internet that craps out every 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. It's all yours if you just give Klim a chance. All right, let's get into we'll do some quick sports stuff, and then we're just going to get right into the NFL draft stuff. A lot happened. Some good stuff happened over the weekend. Maybe not so good stuff. Mets and Yankees have very strong weekends. The Yankees sweep the Guardians, and the Mets take 2 out of 3 from Arizona, so they win another series. They have not lost a series yet this season, and I believe I just jinxed the Mets as they go into a series with the Cardinals starting tonight. Now, the good news about that series is you have your 3 best pitchers on the mound. You have Scherzer tonight, Bassett tomorrow, Carrasco on Wednesday. So that definitely is fine with me. The Mets are just getting timely hitting. They're getting good starting pitching. Tyler McGill continues to be incredible on the mound. And I just like that Buck is just letting this guy pitch. He's letting these guys pitch. You and I both know that if Rojas was still the manager of this team, he would have pulled McGill after 5 innings.
Mm-hmm.
Just lets the guy pitch. Even last week when he got into some trouble facing the Giants, he still pitched 6 solid innings.
Right.
He didn't try to tax his bullpen. He didn't try to kill his bullpen and everything. But at the end of the day, the Mets get 2 out of 3. And as I said, they go into kind of a tough week as they have the Cardinals and then they play the Phillies at home. So that'll be a big division series right off the bat. Phillies have been terrible to start the season. They've been really bad.
Oh, yeah, they've been not good.
Zach Wheeler's been getting rocked the last couple of starts, ERA over 8. But, again, we've always talked about this with a team like the Phillies, and that was they overloaded their lineup with hitting, sacrificed defense because they have the worst defensive outfield in all of baseball, and they didn't really emphasize pitching the way you want them to. Didn't emphasize the bullpen that much. You're still kind of riding Nola and Wheeler. Kyle Gibson's been okay. He hasn't been that great. And then the back end of the rotation leaves a lot to be desired. So now that the Phillies have gotten off to a little bit of a brutal start, I think the Mets are 5 games up on everybody already. From what
they are. It's fantastic to look at that. And even like you mentioned with Tyler McGill, like going deep into the game, a lot of our pitchers have been doing that as well. I've noticed it with Carrasco. I've noticed it with Peterson. A lot of these guys who we need to go deep into the games, like you mentioned. If this was Rojas last year, he didn't care how good you were doing into the game. He would have taken you out after 5 or 6 because of sabermetrics. Carrasco pitched into, what was it, the 8th the other night? I was like, that's fantastic. That is fantastic. I was so excited to see that, and excited to see that, Buck doesn't have a quick trigger and be like, okay, sabermetrics. No, this is the kind of manager that we needed. We needed a classical, old school baseball manager.
Well, one thing that I like about what's going on with the Mets right now is that number one is that you're getting right out of the gate, Francisco Lindor has been off to a terrific start. And that was a guy you were definitely hoping was going to shake off the New York rust from last year when he was when he just seemed like a little lost at the plate, seemed like he was getting swallowed up by the New York media, by the New York fans, kind of already labeling him, not a bust, but they were very, the disappointment and all that stuff. Lindor has come out of the gate very strong. He has 4 home runs already on the year. He's got 13 RBIs, had another RBI hit yesterday. Those are the things you really want to see out of him. The other thing also is we already know what Scherzer is capable of. So that kind of takes care of itself. But in the wake of DeGrom being injured, what you really like about what's going on with the Mets is that Tyler McGill has given them a strong outing, given them very strong outings to start the season. Chris Bassett's been terrific. I know he didn't have a great game against the Giants last week, but overall he's been terrific. Carlos Carrasco has been incredible to start the season. Those are the types of things you want to look for, and you want to see those guys get out to a really great start. Walker was off to a good start before he got hurt in his first start of the season, so you're hoping he bounces back. Mm-hmm. He had a simulated game today. It looks like he's going to pitch this weekend against the Phillies. But the timely hitting from guys like Jeff McNeil, from Francisco Lindor, Alonso's been tearing it up to start the season. Canha's been very good. Marte's been terrific. There's not many shortcomings right now with the Mets. Is their bullpen a little bit shaky? Yeah, it is. I mean, you get some highs and lows. Seth Lugo seems to be kind of getting out of his funk a little bit after he got off to a little bit of a slow start. Joely Rodriguez has actually pitched really well. I know Edwin Diaz blew save the other night, but I'm not going to get crazy about that. I'm just not. This is who Edwin Diaz is, and we have to accept that as Mets fans. No one is going to come in and save the day as a closer because if you look at past history with the Mets, they've always had the volatile closer, even when they've had the name closer. If you go back to K-Rod, you go back to Billy Wagner, you go back to even Franco, all these guys were all over the place. They weren't lights out every single game. Mm-hmm. Wagner got his ass in plenty of trouble when he used to come in the 9th inning. So did K-Rod. They just worked their way out of it. The thing about the Diaz blown save was he got the first 2 guys out and he gave up a home run to Dalton Varsho, who was like, for some reason now, the new Pat Burrell. I mean, because he's just like every time I see him, he's always hitting homers off the Mets. So It's early in the season. I'm not going to get too crazy about it. I'm really not. The important thing is they won that game Friday and they won the series. Saturday I didn't give him much of a shot because of Trevor Williams, because I just didn't know if Trevor Williams was going to really do anything, and he really didn't. So my expectations were pretty low going into that game. But if they can come out of St. Louis and win 2 out of 3, that's a huge plus for this team going into that Philly series, especially at home. You'll have Scherzer and you'll have Bassett for that game, which I think will be really good. I think Walker is going to start Friday. Friday or Saturday? I don't know which day he's going to start. But knowing that, they already know that Peterson got caught. They sent Peterson down to the minors. Mm-hmm. So, but overall, Keith's such a dick.
What happened?
He wrote, "The heat isn't working in Craig's house because I'm wearing a Scully right now."
See, it would have been funnier if he commented that on the thing.
Don't get him on. Don't get him started. Right? Don't so, but overall, it was a good week. It was a good weekend for the Mets. Another good weekend for the Yankees, except for that Saturday afternoon game, where, as you know, and again, we've talked about this a lot on the show in past situations. Okay, so when you're a fan and you go to a game, do you automatically go there insisting on acting like a jerk off?
No.
Okay? It's like you pay good money, you pay money to go to the game. But lately what we've noticed is that fans feel this weird sense of entitlement to pretty much do whatever they want at games. Right. And you can only blame it on the booze for so long. Like, when do fans just learn to conduct themselves in an appropriate manner? Because what we always forget about going to games is there's kids at games. Like, I take my daughter to baseball games sometimes, like once or twice a year and everything. And the incident that took place at Yankee Stadium on Saturday is just another in a long line of incidents. And it's not just Yankee fans, by the way. Every team has shitty fans. Mm-hmm. Every team. The Mets have them. Boston has them. The Dodgers have them. Every team has shitty fans. Even teams that you don't care about, like the Kansas City Royals, still have some jerks that sit in the bleachers that say nasty things, in front of kids or to the players and all that stuff. Keith and I were talking about this the other day, and it was like, remember Adam Jones from the Baltimore Orioles?
Yeah, the center fielder.
Yeah, Adam Jones used to talk about how in Boston he used to get, racial slurs from everybody that sits in the bleachers. I mean, every fan base always going to have some jerks in every fan base. The Dodger fans are so bad they put a fucking guy in a coma. Remember that guy?
I remember that one.
They put that guy in a coma. He almost died, but he has permanent brain damage because they beat the shit out of him in the parking lot because he was wearing a Giants jersey. Insane. I mean, this is what happens, though. This is the unfortunate part about it. But fans get this weird sense that they are entitled to do whatever they want just because they buy the tickets for the games. They buy 15, however much money a beer costs at whatever stadium. It's like they think they're doing the team a favor by going to the game. So it's like, oh, let me go be an asshole. It's like those same people that go out and they run out onto the field and getting tackled by security. It only goes so far. That excuse of, I was drunk and whatever, that only goes so far. If you can't fucking handle your booze, then don't go to the games. If you can't party with the big boys, don't show up. Okay? Because it just gets out of control. And again, Matt Stevens, go to Yankee games all the time and sit in the bleachers. And he used to say that, the fans there were he went to a Yankee Red Sox game. There was a kid no older than maybe 10 years old. Right. Wearing a Boston Red Sox jersey because he was a Boston Red Sox fan. He's with his dad. And these fucking Yankee fans were ripping him to shreds. He's freaking 10 years old. Yeah. But again, not singling out Yankee fans by any stretch of the imagination because every fan base has it. It doesn't matter what team. It doesn't matter what sport. You're always going to have some jerks in the stands that think that just because they drink a little beer, they spend $30, $40, $50 on beers when they're at the game and another $100 for the ticket or whatever, that they can just do whatever they want.
Yeah, well, did you see the video? It was a few weeks ago when the Mets were playing the Phillies, and that one Mets fan was like walking up the aisle after the Mets won. The guy took the Phillies fan took the Mets fan phone and just tossed it on the field. I was like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. I'm like, first of all, that guy's getting knocked the fuck out if he ever does that to me. I was like, what the fuck?
I mean, Philly is worse than one of the worst cities
Oh.
to. I mean, Eagles fans, Philly fans, they're all fucking terrible. But every team has them. Every team has them. That's my point.
Yeah.
So a great comfort behind win by the Yankees on Saturday afternoon was completely overshadowed by 20 fucking jerks sitting in the bleachers throwing beer cans and bottles at the Cleveland outfielders. Miles Straw called them the worst fan base on the planet. Okay, that's his opinion, though, so he's entitled to it. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of Cleveland Guardian fans that suck when they go into stadiums, talking shit to the outfielders. I mean, I've heard some horrible shit said to these players, sitting in like the bleachers or the Pepsi porch or whatever it is, or whatever it is now. But it just gets to the point where like these things have to stop. And I give the Yankees a lot of credit. Their players ran right out to the outfield to protect the players from the Guardians from getting pelted with shit because they were getting pelted with stuff.
Yeah.
So I give credit to guys like Giancarlo Stanton, Aaron Judge, the rest of the Yankee roster and everything because they didn't even get to celebrate the victory because they had to go out and protect the other team from their idiot fans sitting in the bleachers.
Insane.
But it's like, and then making it worse was I was reading the Facebook comments afterwards, and some of these fans are again, they're just completely naive or they're just completely ignorant. They're just like, well, if Miles Straw hadn't climbed up on the chain link fence, then we wouldn't have, then he probably wouldn't have got hit with anything. It doesn't fucking matter. It should never get to that. It should never get to the point where a player is climbing up a fucking fence to try to have words with you. It should never get to that point. It's like fans have to start conducting themselves in a better manner. And the thing is, like, I go to Jets games from time to time. I go to Mets games from time to time. I go to a Jet game. When you go out to a Jet game, you got to go out there early because you got to get a parking spot, people tailgate and everything. Klim, by kickoff, there's people already passed out in their fucking seats.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're too much in the parking lot. They have no clue how to conduct themselves in any type of manner. Like, it's unreal to me. And a great win by the Yankees on Saturday afternoon was completely overshadowed because no one gave a shit about the win. No one gave a shit that Gleyber Torres had the game-winning single.
Yeah.
To beat the Guardians. All that people talked about was what happened in the stands, and it should never get to that point. And I say that about Met fans. I say about Met fans. I'll say it about fucking Long Island Ducks fans if they were doing the same shit. But it just gets to the point where it's like fans have got to stop thinking that just because they buy a ticket, just because they drink the beers and everything, that they can do and say whatever they want. You want to boo a player, that's fine. Okay? You want to boo a player, you want to yell at the umpire for having a crappy call, fine. But, like, Lord knows what they were saying in the outfield to those guys. Lord knows. I have no idea. But it's like, it's out of control. And the thing was, it was a great weekend for the Yankees after they had been struggling. They sweep the Guardians. They get a terrific game out of Gerrit Cole over the weekend. He gets 9 strikeouts. Now everybody's proclaiming Gerrit Cole is back. But we'll see. So, and like, again, there's nothing else to really say. Outside of that, there's really nothing else to say on the subject. The Yankees are finally. What was kind of funny was I was listening to Tiki and Tierney today. And I like Tiki Barber because Tiki Barber is very insightful. I am not a Brandon Tierney fan because I think he's just like a loud New Yorker. Like when he's on the radio show, I can't stand that like attitude. And he turns around and says, he starts talking about, oh, were we overreacting about the Yankees start? And I'm sitting there going, you fucking people always overreact. You always overreact. It is time after time, year after year, the Yankees always come out of the gate slow. The Yankees always come out of the gate slow. They always manage to lose a series to the Orioles. They've won some good series this year. They took 2 out of 3 from the Red Sox. They swept the Guardians. They split the series with Toronto when Toronto was at Yankee Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's like you always do this every year. First month of the year, you guys are freaking out because the Yankees are off to a terrible start because they're not, 18-0. But it's not how it works. It's not how it works. But it's a good win overall, a good series win over the weekend. Now you have a series tomorrow, I think starts with the Baltimore Orioles, a team that you kind of struggle against, which kind of hope that's not the case. Orioles have actually been playing good ball. I don't know if you've really been following them. Their pitching has actually been really good to start the season.
Yeah, I mean, them losing John Means to Tommy John surgery for the year does not help, but they're hitting wise, it's fantastic. And I think they're only going to get better as soon as they call up Adley Rutschman.
Yeah. I mean, if Cedric Mullins gets going, they're going to be a pretty dangerous, not dangerous. I might have jumped the gun on that one. But you just want to see progress from a team like the Baltimore Orioles. Just want to see progress. It's very interesting that their pitchers are developing well to start the season. Bruce Zimmerman is a guy who's pitched terrific for them over the first couple of weeks. Maybe they found a closer in Lopez. He already has 4 saves on the season. They've shut out team. I think they have 3 shutouts already this year as a team.
They look better than what we expected. So and that, like you said, that's always a good thing to see. You want to see them progress, and when you have guys like Cedric Mullins, Austin Hayes, Ryan Mountcastle, even Trey, like these are guys you could build off of.
I mean, they're not making any big time moves anytime soon. I think they're really waiting for these guys to, these young guys, like you said, Adley Rutschman. They have a pitcher, I think that's coming up. I forgot his name, but he's like one of the top pitching prospects in the minors. So the Orioles are definitely, they're a long ways away, but just want to see them be competitive. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like another team also is the Pittsburgh Pirates. Pirates have been playing good baseball to start the season, and their roster is just as bad as the Orioles roster. I think they just took 2 out of 3 from the Cubs over the weekend. So, jumping off subject, overall, though, good weekend for the Yankees, good weekend for the Mets. And that's pretty much it as they get into both series. The Mets have a big one starting tonight against the St. Louis Cardinals, while the Yankees are back home tomorrow again to take on the Baltimore Orioles. Finally, before we get into our NFL draft talk, Nets are on the brink of elimination as they play Game 4 tonight against the Boston Celtics. And what I found kind of funny was the same kind of lame talking points on sports radio, like from it doesn't matter who it is. And it's like, are the Brooklyn Nets one of the NBA's all-time biggest disappointments and everything? And I'm like, look, I'm going to be really honest. And you can agree or disagree. I really could care less. Opinions are opinions. I could understand that argument more if Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving had played a full season together.
Right.
And the Nets were the 7th seed going into the playoffs. Okay? I could completely understand if you want to go down that road of NBA all-time disappointments with those 2 guys playing 82 games together, and the best we could do is a 7th seed and possible a quick elimination. Okay? Could totally get it. But here's why I can't do that. I can't do that, and I'm sorry, I am going to play this card. And I normally don't, but this is one of the few times I am. This season for the Brooklyn Nets has been a clusterfuck on so many levels. It started at the very beginning of the season with the vaccine mandate and Kyrie Irving's refusal to get vaccinated. Now, I can't kill Kyrie because he made a personal choice. And I would be a hypocrite if I ripped him for not getting vaccinated just because I want to see him play on the Brooklyn Nets. I would be a major hypocrite. So I'm not going to kill Kyrie Irving. You made a personal decision. What I applaud Kyrie Irving on is the fact that he stood by it the entire season. At any point during the season, he could have just been like, all right, I'm ready. I'm going to get vaccinated and been done with it. But he didn't do that. And I give him a lot of credit for that. And I'm sure he took a lot of shit for it too. But the fact is that he made a personal choice, and I can't fault him for that. If it's at the behest, if it's at the, if it hurts my team, well, those are the breaks. I can't change that, but I have to live with it. You don't have Kyrie Irving for pretty much the majority of the season. And on top of that, you have Kevin Durant, who missed at least 6 weeks through the All-Star break, if I'm not mistaken.
Somewhere around that, yeah.
Missed a lot of time, okay? Adding insult to injury was the fact that James Harden wanted nothing to do with being a leader on this team. He was only along for the ride to ride the coattails of Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. And when all that went down, Harden got pissed, and he was just being an asshole. Okay? I can't really kill the Nets as much as everyone else is for those reasons alone. Because you and I both know that if we had a full season of those three guys, we wouldn't be the 7th seed right now.
No, absolutely not.
We would be easily a 2 or a 3. Maybe not a 1, because I still think Milwaukee's better. But I think a 2 or a 3.
No, you're absolutely right. And even I would even put that aside, even if Ben Simmons just played this series, like I don't know if it's mental. I don't know if he's injured or not. But the fact that him not playing for the playoffs really, I think, hurt.
He's a pussy. Let me just get that out of the way right now. He's a fucking pussy. And I love the Ben Simmons trade. So
did I.
I really like the Ben Simmons trade. We couldn't run the risk of losing Harden for nothing in the offseason. So we went out, got Ben Simmons, got Seth Curry, got Andre Drummond. And we got a first-round pick back in the draft. So I'm very happy with the deal overall. I'm a big Seth Curry fan. The Nets are predicated on the outside shot. That's how they live. That's how they live and die by the outside shot. When it's not sinking, they're not winning. All right? Kevin Durant has struggled in the postseason. Kyrie Irving has struggled in the postseason. But for some reason, Klim, this season never felt right to me.
Mm-hmm.
It never felt right. And I'm not making excuses for the Brooklyn Nets. I'm just stating what I think. I just never got comfortable with this Nets season because no Kyrie. Then Durant got hurt. Harden wouldn't step up. The rest of the roster it's average at best. You're expecting guys like Patty Mills to put up 40-minute nights when he's not capable of doing that. LaMarcus Aldridge missed an extended period of time. Then Blake Griffin all of a sudden was in the doghouse. He barely played. Steve Nash had weird rotations with Cam Thomas and Kessler Edwards, who are young and very inexperienced. Then put fucking Cam Thomas out there. Put him out there. Let him play. Put Day'Ron Sharpe out there. One guy who I thought has actually been pretty decent is Nick Claxton.
He is good. He's been progressively, ever since he's been drafted by the Nets, he's been progressively getting better and better each year. Granted, he's not a starter, but he's solid to come off the bench.
But I'm not making excuses for the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, listen, the season is disappointing. It sucks. Because, again, you're missing out on Kevin Durant. You're missing out on Kyrie Irving. You have Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and you can't get very far. I wouldn't go as far as saying it's one of the all-time disappointments because, quite frankly, they haven't played. They did not play enough this year. And that does count for something. It does mean something at the end of the day. Now, look, this offseason is a make-or-break offseason for Marks. He's going to really have to he's going to have to figure out a way to work this roster. I don't know what that entails. I don't know if it means that Steve Nash is fired after this year. I have no idea. I have no clue right now.
Well, apparently, I was going to say Steve Nash's job is safe, according to recent articles that came out.
But, I mean, I don't think he's had a lot to work with. But now, to play devil's advocate, this is the downside of a big three. Because you overload your money to 3 players and the rest of the roster suffers.
Mm-hmm.
The guys you get to round out that roster are either over the hill or just simply not good enough. Blake Griffin is not even playing a role right now on this team. Why? Like, why is he not in the rotation now? Do you see what I mean?
Right.
It's like some of the things they're doing just doesn't make sense. But nobody wanted to talk about the Brooklyn Nets all year, right, Klim? Like when the Brooklyn Nets were kicking the shit out of the Knicks and beating other teams, nobody wanted to talk about it because you know why? It was, well, they're not the Kings of New York. Their fans are fake. Blah, 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 blah. But now you want to talk about the Brooklyn Nets, of course, because they're on the verge of getting eliminated and you think that they are the biggest disappointment of all time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You want my honest opinion for this year? I think the fucking Knicks are a bigger disappointment than the Nets are.
I said that. I was telling someone that yesterday.
Because you know why? Because everybody says the same shit. Everybody says, well, the Knicks didn't have Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. They should have went a lot further. The Nets should have went a lot further. Yeah, well, the Nets barely had Kyrie Irving for the whole season because he got vaccinated. He didn't want to get vaccinated. And Kevin Durant got hurt. And he missed at least 6 to 8 weeks. You know how many games? That's 15 games right there that he missed. But here's why the Knicks are the bigger disappointment. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Last year, they were the number 4 seed in the East. Home playoff game in the first round against home series against the Atlanta Hawks. Number 14, okay? And I heard every Knicks fan, Klim, every Knicks fan, every fucking radio broadcaster on WFAN, the Knicks are back. Jake Asman was a big guy that did that too. Oh, the Knicks are back. The Knicks are good. Tom Thibodeau's been such an amazing coach for this team. They're going to, and everything. Fast forward to this year, Klim. They didn't even make the playoffs. They were the 12th seed, I think, in the East. Coming off a 4th seed positioning. And you didn't do anything to your roster that was drastically different.
No.
You added Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier. You basically brought back the same guys as last year. And you drafted Miles McBride, and Quentin Grimes. Those were your big additions. Because the Knicks could not get a superstar to come to Madison Square Garden.
And Craig, me and you mentioned that during the offseason too. Everyone was expecting, the Knicks are talking. When they were talking about the Knicks and going into this season, me and you were the only ones who were like, they brought back the same team. They didn't really do anything. They were relying on Kemba Walker staying healthy the whole year, which he hasn't been healthy for the past few years. You brought in Evan Fournier. He's not a starter. He's a guy off the bench. Like, he would work good with the Nets, not as a starter on the Knicks. They expected Julius Randle to have another MVP-like season. He got brought back down to his regular good self. You expected RJ Barrett to take a step forward, which he did, but he didn't take on that, I'm the elite player here. He didn't take on that role. Nerlens Noel and Mitchell Robinson were MIA the whole season. Emmanuel Quickley was the same, really. They didn't do anything. They had nothing. Me and you expected, this is what we expected from the Nets the Knicks this year, and we were absolutely right.
We knew they weren't going to be a good team.
Mm-hmm.
We knew it. Or not that, let me rephrase that. I didn't think they were going to be that bad. I thought they would have definitely been fighting for a playoff spot, maybe like a 5 or a 6 seed. I did not expect them to be that bad. And again, whose fault is that at the end of the day? I don't know how you could sit there and say, well, the Nets are, the utter embarrassment. Hey, at least we fucking got to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Where were the fucking Knicks all year? Where are all the Knicks fans that were talking about how they didn't need Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, that they're good and everything is back to normal. The Knicks are back, baby, and Thibodeau and everything. They were a fucking 12 seed.
Mm-hmm.
Finished 12th with the same roster. The same exact roster as last year, and they were a 12th seed. Atlanta Hawks made the playoffs this year.
Terrible.
I mean,
absolutely terrible.
So I'm sorry, but you could piss and shit on the Nets all you want, but until I see Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving play a full season together, and maybe Ben Simmons grows a pair and starts playing through injuries, maybe it is all about next year. Maybe a healthy Ben Simmons next year is exactly what we need. Maybe having Seth Curry for another year with Andre Drummond is exactly what we need. Maybe getting another young talent with that first-round pick is exactly what we need to build that future with Nick Claxton, Cam Thomas, Kessler Edwards. But you're going to sit there and tell me the Nets are the biggest disappointment this year? You need to look no further than Madison Square Garden for that answer. But hopefully the Nets extend the series. But to be honest, I'm so mentally exhausted by it that it's just the season just never this season never felt right to me. Never.
Let's say Nets are down 30-26 at the end of the first.
Like I said, the season just never felt right. I don't know why. Just it was so all over the place, especially when once Kyrie didn't want to do the vaccine mandate. I was like, this isn't working. And then, like I said, James Harden had no desire to be a leader. Like he had no desire.
He never did. Even when he was in.
But that's the state of the NBA, though. These guys don't want to play. Let me ask you a question, Klim. You think fucking Patrick Ewing is missing a do-or-die Game 4?
No.
With a bat, knowing his team is on the brink of elimination. You think fucking Charles Barkley is going to miss that game, or Michael Jordan, or Scottie Pippen? Any of those guys. You name all those guys back in the day. Karl Malone, David Robinson, Tim Duncan. None of those guys are missing that game if it's a do-or-die game. Unless they literally can't walk, they're not missing that game.
Right.
Okay?
But maybe it's coming from the higher ups, and they're saying, hey, look, just relax. It's one game. We don't want you to get hurt or anything like that. I don't know. But like you mentioned, these superstars that we used to see, even LeBron to an extent. LeBron would never he wouldn't miss a game. Anthony Davis wouldn't miss a game. The guys you see nowadays who are like Brandon Ingram wouldn't miss a game. Devin Booker, Chris Paul, they're not missing games.
Those are the guys you want. Like, obviously, if you have a torn ACL, you're not going to play. If you have a torn Achilles, you're not going to play. I totally get that part. You need to tell me fucking Ben Simmons can't go out there and play with a little back injury. Even if you just put him out there as a decoy or something like that. I mean,
yeah.
But it's like, that's the state of the NBA. These guys don't want it. They just want to collect the money and run off into the sunset. That's all they care about is getting paid. They don't care about anything else. They don't care. You don't see anybody in the Brooklyn Nets really giving a shit about winning a championship. You don't really see anybody in the Brooklyn Nets saying, you know what, man, we're going to fuck Boston up for 4 games. Nobody gave us a shot. Now it's time for us to go show them what we can do. And if you want to see how low it got, Klim, somebody in the Daily News actually wrote this as the tagline of an article. The Nets are really seeing what they could have had with Ime Udoka as a head coach. Like, do you see what I fucking mean? It's gotten so predictable. You don't need much to be a journalist anymore. You don't need much. You can go to fucking Syracuse University and go get your degree at the Newhouse College and all that stuff, whatever it's called. You don't need much to be a journalist. All you need to have is a pulse and the ability to write. And that's it. You and I could be journalists. I could write stuff right now that's probably 10 times better than half the fucking shit that these idiots write in Daily News and Newsday and all that stuff. Because they pivot right to the easy article, the low-hanging fruit. Oh, Nets are one of the most disappointing franchises of all time because of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Who are the fucking Knicks? Oh, the Nets. They should have hired Ime Udoka as their head coach instead of Steve Nash. What are you talking about? Again,
it's just a shit show. This whole when people write shit like that, it's like, what are you really writing? Come on.
But it's just it's just the low-hanging fruit. And I can assure you, if we had Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving together for a full season, number one, James Harden ain't going anywhere. I think we can all agree on that.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing is, we'd be a lot better than a fucking 7.
Oh, absolutely.
We'd be a lot better than 7. All right. Draft time on the Moffett on the Mic show as we are counting down. Klim, as I said to open the show, we have waited. It has been a long slog for the last couple of months of nothing but mock drafts. But we are finally getting very, very close. Thursday night, 8 o'clock, NFL draft time. And the best part about this draft this year is there is no surefire slam dunk number 1 pick.
Yep.
Last year was different with Trevor Lawrence. That was a no-brainer. No one was going to take anybody else over Trevor Lawrence. This year, there is a lot of rumblings going around as who could be the number one pick. A lot of the mock drafts. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, did you see the new odds that came out today on who's favorite to be the number one?
I sure did. The odds are out. The latest odds are out, and the number one overall pick is based on these odds. Most likely will be Trayvon Walker from Georgia, which he's a bit of a polarizing prospect, Klim, and I'll tell you why, especially among Jets beat writers. Some Jets beat writers like him a lot because of his the usual traits. But if you've ever listened to on Patreon, Turn on the Jets with Joe Caporoso and Connor Rogers, they don't love Trayvon Walker. They think that teams are just falling in love with the traits, but he's not as good as everybody's going to make him out to be.
That's what I was saying. I looked at his stats. I watched some of his game film. It's not impressive for a top 5 pick, honestly.
So that is the latest rumor. However, we don't really know for certain what the Jacksonville Jaguars are thinking at number one overall. My strategy for the Jacksonville Jaguars would be you have to build an offense around Trevor Lawrence. Just like the way the Jets kind of set up their picks around Zach Wilson when they drafted Elijah Vera Tucker, Elijah Moore, Michael Carter. They have to do the same thing for Trevor Lawrence because right now the Jacksonville Jaguar receiving core is not very good. No. You're expecting Christian Kirk to be a number one wide receiver. And that is why you're seeing all these trades go down. That is why you're seeing Devontae Adams get traded to the Raiders. That is why you're seeing Tyreek Hill get traded to the Dolphins and then sign a contract for $72 million guaranteed. That Christian Kirk signing set off something where all those receivers are saying, I'm fucking 10 times better than Christian Kirk. Why is he making that kind of money? And then that's when you go, I got to go talk to my agent. That is why you are hearing about these Deebo Samuel trade rumors. Okay? Please. For that exact reason. Okay? I don't think he's getting traded. I hate to burst your bubble.
I'm praying he comes to the Jets.
I would be stunned if Deebo Samuel got traded to the Jets. I would be absolutely stunned.
I agree with you. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it would have happened already if it is, but I don't.
He literally makes the Niners a playoff team. Would you really? Let me ask you a question. If you're the 49ers right now and you know you're moving forward this year with Trey Lance, would you even consider trading your best weapon, knowing full well that you have a quarterback that is inexperienced and is making his starting debut week 1, 2022?
No, no, absolutely not.
So there you go. And the thing is, we're picking 4th and 10th. And Joe Douglas is not going to give up the moon and the stars to get Deebo Samuel. I'm sorry, he's just not. He loves the draft. He wants to build through the draft. And if he knows that he can get another receiver, whether it's Garrett Wilson, whether it's Jamison Williams, whether it's Drake London, if the Deebo Samuel stuff doesn't work out, that's where he's going. That's exactly where he's going. Now, the other crazy rumor from the other day was that reportedly the Giants are trying to shop Kadarius Toney.
So stupid.
And let me tell you right now, you can have him. I don't want anything to do with him on the Jets. Absolutely nothing.
No.
I don't even care about the fact that he blew off OTAs. OTAs are voluntary. If you don't want to go, you don't have to go. The reason why it looks bad for Kadarius Toney and not so much Mekhi Becton is because new coach, new GM. Why would you not want to go to OTAs to show your coach you give a shit?
Yeah.
Remember, Kadarius Toney was hurt for most of last year. Oh, yeah, right. He started a fight on the field against the Dallas Cowboys. Remember that? And I heard today, Evan Roberts he's like, oh, yeah, I'll trade a second-round pick for Kadarius Toney.
Absolutely not.
I will never trade a second round pick. He's an idiot. I hope he was kidding. What the hell? Why would you trade a second round pick for him? Because you saw 2 games with the Giants and you think that he's going to be that amazing? You think Robert Sala?
I would say he's a good player. I will say that. But I don't want the baggage that comes with him, especially not for a fucking second round pick. We just offered 2 second round picks for Tyreek Hill. You mean to tell me that this guy's on the same level as Tyreek Hill? Get the hell out of here.
I wouldn't. Honestly, the Giants have no leverage to make a trade. But here's my advice to the Giants. It's very simple. If you want to get rid of him, just get rid of him. Just dump him.
Yeah.
Just dump him. If Daboll doesn't want anything to do with this guy and Shane just wants to get rid of him, get rid of him. Don't wait around for a trade. Just release him. Just say, we're going to cut you. We don't want you here. And that's it. But you live by the sword, you die by it too. And if Darius Toney goes to another team and becomes an elite receiver, you're gonna get shit on in New York. Plain and simple. All right, so let's do our mock draft. You have yours, Klim?
I got one. Yep.
Okay. This yours, or you're like just reading off like someone else's?
No, this is mine. I literally did it as we were like starting the show.
Okay. How would you like to do this? You want to just alternate?
Like you go 1 pick and I'll go the second pick, or you just go your first and I'll go my first.
I'll just tell you who I took with that pick, but I won't go in. But like we won't go into like ridiculous detail.
Okay.
All right. Since it's your network, you will have the option of either going first or second. But I will make you a deal.
Okay.
Since there's 2 Jets picks and 2 Giants picks, we each get 1.
Okay.
Okay. So you decide which your network, your rules. So you decide which pick you want from both teams.
All right, I'll take the first Giants pick, and I'll take the second Jets. I'll take the second Jets pick.
Okay, so you will be picking 5th for the Giants and 10th for the Jets.
Yes.
And I will be picking 4th for the Jets and 7th for the Giants.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It is like I said, it is your network, so you will have the fuller. Jacksonville Jaguars are on the clock, and you are taking.
I'm the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm taking, like you mentioned just mere minutes ago, they got to build this team around Trevor Lawrence. Got to get him an offensive line to help him protect. They go Evan Neal with the first overall pick.
All right. That's a very interesting pick. Big body. What is he, like 6'7", 360 or something like that?
Yeah, he's a huge dude. He's very mobile on his feet. He wowed everyone at his pro day. I mean, this is the guy to take. And like you said, like you got to protect your assets at all costs. No matter what you do, Trevor Lawrence, this is your guy. No matter what you say, it doesn't matter what season he had last year. Last year was whatever. You got to go out and protect this man at all costs. You don't want him hit. You saw what happened to Andrew Luck. Okay, we all know what happened to Andrew Luck. The Colts didn't build him an offensive line. He got injured, and he quit the league because the Colts neglected him. You got to go out and get an offensive lineman right now.
All right, mine was I had them taking Aiden Hutchinson.
Okay.
Mainly because I thought it was a safe pick, pass rusher. The only thing is, and I remember this too, I forgot that somebody mentioned this, that the Jaguars have drafted pass rushers the last 3 years. Josh Allen's been good. Clavian Chasen has not. But I think Aiden Hutchinson with Josh Allen could be very good for the defense for the Jaguars, and they're going to need it because, again, you're going up against, Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry. You're going up against the Colts and Matt Ryan this year. So I think getting after the quarterback is still going to needs to be a key cog for the Jags. So I said Aiden Hutchinson for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So Klim had Evan Neal, and I had Aiden Hutchinson. Okay. With the second pick in the draft, I have the Detroit Lions taking Trayvon Walker.
Okay.
I've heard some rumblings about that, heard meaning I don't have any sources, by the way. I just read. So apparently they don't there's question. They don't love Kayvon Thibodeau's apparent character, whatever that is. So I just kind of take it with a grain of salt. It's too high for the Lions to draft a wide receiver, which I think they need more than anything right now. Mm-hmm. And it's too high for them to take a quarterback at number 2 overall. I think if the Lions had their way, I think they would want to trade down some more spots, try to acquire a few more picks maybe. But their offensive line is also set, so I don't see them drafting a guy like Ike Ekwonu either.
Right.
And I think Sauce Gardner is too high for a cornerback spot for number 2 overall, especially when they drafted Jeff Okudah 2 years ago. So at the end of the day, I say they go with Trayvon Walker for the defense. They really need to, I think they have a couple of decent pass rushers, but nobody really elite. But I think getting Trayvon Walker for that defense, I think, would be the smart move. So I'm going to say Trayvon Walker.
I'm gonna agree with you with defense, but I'm gonna go with Aiden Hutchinson going to the Lions. I think this guy. I love Aiden Hutchinson. I arguably think he's the best player in this draft. I think he's another version of Nick and Joey Bosa. Like the kid is just phenomenal at what he does at the defensive end position. Plus, I can just see it now. Aiden Hutchinson's a Dan Campbell guy. Like it's just a perfect scenario for him to get drafted to the Lions. Born and raised in Michigan, went to University of Michigan, Detroit, Michigan. Makes the perfect sense in my opinions.
And the only reason why I don't have Aiden Hutchinson going number 2 is because I already had him going number 1.
Right.
So. All right, Klim, the Houston Texans are on the clock. Who are you taking?
The Houston Texans are taking Trayvon Walker because, I mean, in reality, the Texans can literally go any position here and it'll be okay. But I consider with the way Trayvon Walker's been moving up the draft board, the way he's built and everything like that. Personally, I mean, if I'm the Houston Texans, I wouldn't touch Trayvon Walker. But I personally think that the Texans, the way they see Trayvon Walker, the way he plays, the way, like I said, he moved up the draft board, I think he goes 3 overall to the Houston Texans.
All right, with the 3rd pick, I have the Houston Texans taking Ike Ekwonu from the offensive tackle from NC State. Mm-hmm. I think that they really like Davis Mills, to be honest. And I think in that case, you do have to build around him. And I think it starts on the offensive line. And if you pair him on the right side with Laramie Tunsil on the left side, you have 2 bookend tackles to protect your quarterback. I think they do like him. But again, we're in a situation where you could go pass rusher here with either Thibodeau or Trayvon Walker. It's still too high to take a wide receiver. So you can't really go that route, which they could use a wide receiver for Davis Mills. But I think Ike Ekwonu, who a lot of people believe is the best lineman in this draft, would be a terrific pick for the Texans. And you have your 2 tackles. Now, what they do with Tunsil after this year, I don't know, which could be all the more reason why you draft Ike Ekwonu 3rd overall. In the event you lose Tunsil, you have him to plug and play, whether it's at the left tackle spot or the right tackle spot. All right, we are at the first Jets pick at number 4. And in my opinion, this is kind of a no-brainer for me. The New York Jets will select Kayvon Thibodeau, pass rusher from Oregon. I had a really good conversation with a Jet fan on one of the Facebook pages. And, he outlined his points all great about taking Sauce Gardner here. He's a lockdown corner, he's a shutdown corner, whatever. We need somebody to guard Waddle or Hill or Diggs all season long. I totally agree. I'm not saying I disagree with that. But if I'm picking number 4 overall and I have a choice between the pass rusher and the cornerback, I'm always going to take the pass rusher. And the reason why I'm always going to take the pass rusher is the good ones never get away from the teams they are on. You will never see a pass rusher. Very rarely do you see a pass rusher become available, unless it's a salary cap thing or just the fact the team is rebuilding. And in this case, that's not happening this year. And the Jets have a chance to add a guy like Kayvon Thibodeau to a pass rush that will bring a returning Carl Lawson to the fold. And while I really like Sauce Gardner a lot, we have been screaming, Jet fans have been bitching and moaning for years and years how we haven't had a legitimately good pass rusher since John Abraham. This is our guy to have for the first time since John Abraham. So Kayvon Thibodeau is my pick. Go ahead.
I couldn't agree with you more. I also had Kayvon Thibodeau going to the Jets, and literally for all those reasons, look, I like Sauce Gardner a lot. If the Jets decide to pick Sauce Gardner over Kayvon Thibodeau, will I be mad? Absolutely not. I'm not going to be mad at that because I think Sauce is a great player. Mm-hmm. But I just think in this scenario, you need to go Kayvon Thibodeau here, especially to help. It'll help take some pressure off of Carl Lawson coming off this injury, because you'll probably more than likely move JFM to D tackle to go along with Quincy. Then you'll have a defensive line of Carl Lawson, Quinnen Williams, JFM, and then Kayvon Thibodeau. That takes so much pressure off of not only Carl Lawson, but takes pressure off guys like Quinnen Williams. Putting JFM where I personally think he belongs at D tackle. You put him there, I think everyone will thrive and even be better with another pass rusher on this team.
Okay. All right, Klim, this is yours. The first Giants pick is?
First Giants pick is they botched it last year by trading back and taking Kadarius Toney when they should have just drafted Rashawn Slater. But they're going to make up for it this year by taking Ike Iguanu at the 5th overall pick, because they desperately at all costs need an offensive lineman. They need it so bad. Like, it's not even funny.
I agree with you, but I just had them taking Evan Neal because I had Iguanu going to the Texans at 3. You're for the exact reasons you said. They need offensive line. You need to protect Daniel Jones. You need to, your offensive line has been in a horrible shape for the past couple of years, and having him on one end with Andrew Thomas on the other end, that's 2 young stud tackles right there for the next 10 years easily. So, and I think that's where they're going to start, where Joe Shane and Brian Daboll are going to start. They're going to start by rebuilding this offensive line. So you had Ike Iguanu, I had Evan Neal. All right, number 6, the Carolina Panthers. This is going to be my first surprise of the evening. The Carolina Panthers will select Charles Cross.
Ooh, okay.
State. And I'm going to tell you why. A lot of mock drafts have them taking a quarterback, whether it's Kenny Pickett. I've seen a few take with Malik Willis, but it's basically been Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis. I think I even saw one that had them taking Matt Corral, but I don't think Matt Corral will go that high. Here's the problem with taking a quarterback that high if you're Matt Rule. You will not be able to develop that kid into the quarterback you want him to be, because your job is on the line this year. Mm-hmm. There's no question that Matt Rule is on the hot seat. If you draft Malik Willis or Kenny Pickett, they are guaranteed not to start week 1. And if they are going to start week 1, then that only tells me that Sam Darnold has hit a new level of low when he can't beat out a guy who's not projected to be a starting quarterback in his rookie season. Matt Rule needs guys now that can help him, because he needs to get to the playoffs. He needs to have a winning season. Mm-hmm. The only way that happens is on the offensive line. They don't need a receiver because you have Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, Terrace Marshall, Christian McCaffrey, et cetera, et cetera. You could use a cornerback here because you lost Stephon Gilmore to the Colts. So Sauce Gardner is a guy that could be in play as well. So don't sleep on that. But I personally believe this year, and I know it sounds kind of crazy when I'm going to say it, they need to roll with Sam for one more year. Because I'm going to be honest, you're not going to be able to trade him. He has no trade value. It would be really weird to trade for a guy like Baker Mayfield at this point when the Cleveland Browns don't even think he's worth being a starter in this league. So right now, I would ride or die with Sam for another year. But I think you got to protect him. And I say that's why my pick is Charles Cross. He is the last of the 3 linemen available. You need a tackle. And I'm going to go with Charles Cross.
I'm going to agree with you with everything you said, that, they need to win now. They need to – Matt Rule's on the hot seat. And that's exactly why I think they're going to go Malik Willis here with that pick, because if they draft Malik Willis and he does great, job saved. No one cares about the Sam Darnold trade. No one cares about that. His job will be saved if he can get to 8 wins with Malik Willis. And I think that's why. And I do agree with you though that, and I'm big on offensive linemen.
I really disagree with that, because honestly, you're not going to play Malik Willis right out the gate. Malik Willis is not going to start until week 6 or week 7, and by then the Panthers could be 0-6. What is that going to do for Matt Rule? I mean, and then on top of that, now you're going to throw this kid to a new coach who may not want him. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't. Like, I mean, I don't know what the Panthers are going to do. I would take the surefire guy in Charles Cross, and I would just go with that. If you really want a quarterback, well, you don't even have a second-round pick, and this is the only pick. But to waste it to me on a quarterback who is more of a developmental product, I just don't think it's a great idea. But that's my pick. I'm going to say Charles Cross.
All right. I had Malik Willis.
Okay, since you took the 5th pick, I have the 7th Giants pick. All right, and with this pick, the Giants will take Sauce Gardner.
Okay.
They need a cornerback. They are most likely going to trade James Bradbury during the draft, which will be a salary dump move. You need another cornerback to start opposite of Dory Jackson. Now, look, Sauce Gardner is not going to be a guy that never gives up a touchdown. So get that out of your head right now. And he's going to be going up against some tough receivers in his division. He's going to be going up against CeeDee Lamb. He's going to be going up against, guys like Michael Gallup, Terry McLaurin, just to name a few. So, but the Giants definitely need a corner, and this is where I say they take Sauce Gardner. Klim?
I have the Giants taking Jermaine Johnson from Florida State. They need a pass rusher.
I thought about that too. So that's actually a very good pick. But I did think about that as possible.
Let's say they need a pass rusher in the worst way, and guys like Azeez Ojulari didn't really have the greatest rookie year last year. So I mean, who knows? Maybe he'll take another step into being that pass rusher. But in the case he doesn't, it ain't Leonard Williams and it ain't Dexter Lawrence either. You need a pass rusher. Jermaine Johnson could be that guy for the New York Giants.
All right, so since I picked the 7th one, I'll give you the 8th.
All right. 8th pick. Considering Matt Ryan's not there anymore, they need a quarterback. It ain't run with Marcus Mariota. Kenny Pickett to the Falcons.
No, I completely disagree with that.
Look, I don't think any of these quarterbacks, like I don't think Malik Willis or Kenny Pickett deserve to be picked in the top 10. I really don't. I don't think they're that great of quarterbacks. They're good. But you take a guy in the top 10 if he's going to start day one for you. And these guys aren't, like you mentioned with Malik Willis. I don't think they're day one. But the same reason with, they need a quarterback. They desperately need a quarterback. And in the case of that they might lose out to the Seahawks, who might take a quarterback with their pick. I think they overdraft Kenny Pickett here in the case they need one.
I don't see any way there's 2 quarterbacks going in the top 10. I don't think the Falcons are going to take Kenny Pickett at all. I think they'll wait a year and they'll regroup. The Falcons are going to be a really bad team this year. Mm-hmm. My selection for the Falcons is going to be Garrett Wilson.
I also was thinking wide receiver.
Now, first of all, you have to put a competent product on. You got to put a product on the field. You don't have Calvin Ridley this year because he got suspended. Justin Gage went and signed with the Buccaneers this offseason. The Falcons literally have no receivers outside of Kyle Pitts. Literally outside of Kyle Pitts. I was looking at their depth chart. Their top receivers right now are Zacchaeus and Damian Bird. That is not good. That's just not going to happen. That's not good at all. It's terrible. Now, the Falcons could always revisit it in the second round if they want to, or maybe if they find a way to get back in the first round at the bottom. But I say right now, we want to see Marcus Mariota, I guess, be a successful quarterback. Everybody thinks he should be a starter again. But if you don't give him anything to work with, he's not going to be good.
True.
In my opinion, right now, you got to get him a receiver because you lost Calvin Ridley. That's a big loss to this team. So I would say right now, I think drafting Garrett Wilson would be the ideal pick for Arthur Smith. Having him and Kyle Pitts, at least it gives you something. Not to mention having, Mike Davis out of the backfield and Cordarrelle Patterson. So my pick for number 8 is going to be Garrett Wilson from Ohio State. All right, number 9 are the Seahawks. And this is my second shocker. This is where I say they take Malik Willis. I think they really like him. I think they know that he can develop, or he can just take his time, because you're going to have Drew Lock and Geno for a year. I think the Seahawks know they're not going to be a great team this year. So I think in that sense of the word, this would be the prime time to draft a quarterback. And I think it will be Malik Willis, the QB from Liberty. What?
I'm gonna go with my third lineman off the list here. I'm gonna go Charles Cross. In the case of,
That's
I think
actually
they made.
the Seahawks need offensive linemen, so that's
I'll say they've been riddled with holes at the offensive line for years now, and they need someone stable. I think they could potentially maybe grab a guy like Carson Strong, Matt Corral, Desmond Ritter maybe in the second round, or whoever's there in the second round. But I think for now, right, get a good offensive lineman who can potentially protect whoever you have start day one, whether it's Drew Lock, Geno, or even whoever you may draft in the second round. Who knows? Who knows? But I think Charles Cross definitely here for the Seahawks.
One prediction I can honestly make is that I think that Desmond Ritter is going to get drafted too high by somebody. I'm convinced of that. All right, Klim, you're up. Number 10. You have the second Jets pick.
All right, I'll keep it simple because he's still on the board for the Jets, and the Jets had a horrendous defense last year to go along with Kayvon Thibodeau. Jets are taking Sauce Gardner at 10.
You really think he's going to fall to 10?
I think just in the fact that no one's going to take a corner that high.
I don't think he's getting past the Giants. I really don't. I'd be very surprised. Honestly, listen, if he gets drafted at 10, I think you got to think about it. You got to definitely consider it. And the Jets have enough people that can move back into the first round if they want to get a receiver later.
That's what I'm saying. Like the Jets have two picks. The Jets, if they wanted to, like if they go, say if Sauce does go to them at 10, they can easily use those 2 second-round picks and maybe a third-round pick next year. Who knows? To move back up into the first and maybe draft a guy like Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Drake London in the mid to late round of the draft, of the first round.
All right. I personally hope this pick doesn't happen, what I have. Mm-hmm. But for some reason, I am convinced it is going to happen at 10, and the Jets are going to take Jameson Williams.
Oh, come on. Don't say that.
I don't know why I'm convinced of it. I don't know why I'm convinced of it. I really am. I honestly believe they are going to take Jameson Williams 10th overall. Listen, he's got all the tools. It's just a case of when he comes back from his injury. That's it. That's it.
Why I'm shocked he still ranks so high because
the only way I would be okay with them taking Jameson Williams is if they draft a wide receiver in the second round with one of their 2 second-round picks.
See, but you can't at that point. It's like, what's the point of drafting Jameson Williams then? Because you already have wide receiver.
Okay. If Garrett Wilson is gone at 8 by the time they pick at 10, then I hope the pick is Drake London.
Yes.
However, I am convinced it's going to be Jameson Williams.
I'm perfectly fine with taking a wide receiver at 10. I have no problems with that. But it just cannot be Jameson Williams.
Or do not be surprised if the Jets try to trade back, depending on where the quarterbacks are. If they don't see a quarterback going right away, there's going to be a team like the Steelers, for example. Somebody's going to trade up to get that quarterback. So be prepared for the Jets to possibly trade down, which wouldn't be a bad idea either. All right, number 11, the Commanders.
I got look. They've been lacking offensive help for a while, and I don't think Taylor Heinicke is a great quarterback, but he's serviceable. He's not the worst. I actually generally like him, and I think if you get him the proper weapons in there, he could turn into something better. Maybe, who knows? That's why I have the what's their team name again? I forgot already.
Commanders.
The Commanders. Yes, I have the Commanders taking Drake London at the 11th overall pick.
I have the Commanders taking Kyle Hamilton.
Ooh, okay.
Look, I think you're going with Carson Wentz, so a quarterback doesn't really make any sense in this spot. I think your offense is capable enough where you don't necessarily need to draft Drake London because you have Terry McLaurin, you have Antonio Gibson in the backfield, you have Adam Humphries, who's a very good slot receiver, you have decent tight ends. Drake London would definitely be a great addition to this team. Don't get me wrong, but something tells me they need defensive help. And after they let Landon Collins go in the offseason, I think replacing him would be a very important part of that secondary. And I think for me, Kyle Hamilton is the way to go. So I would say Kyle Hamilton.
All
right. Number 12, the Minnesota Vikings.
I got Derek Stingley here. They need secondary help badly. And with Patrick Peterson still being another year older and well out of his prime, I mean, sure, he's great especially if you draft a guy like Derek Stingley. Who better to learn under than Patrick Peterson?
Yeah, and Patrick Peterson probably one more year, and he's going to call it a career. I agree. I think Derek Stingley Jr. is going to be the pick for the Vikings. It almost seems like it makes too much sense. Mm-hmm. They don't really need a lot of help in other areas. They drafted Christian Darrisaw last year for the offensive line, so I don't think they need help there. You have a very good pass rush. You were one of the top teams in sacks last year. I mean, maybe a linebacker like a Devin Lloyd could make sense here as well. But I really think their secondary got shredded last year.
So bad.
Especially like Harrison Smith. So I think Derek Stingley Jr. would probably be the best selection for the spot at number 12. All right, 13, Texans. I have them taking Jermaine Johnson out of Florida State. So,
okay.
They need pass rush. They used their first pick on Ike Ekwonu, so they settled the offensive line. And now they get the pass rusher to replace J.J. Watt, who they really, really miss. Plus, another key guy that they lost this past season to the Jets was Jacob Martin, which is another pass rusher that they could. So their pass rush is definitely going to be somewhat weak. And I think, getting after guys like Trevor Lawrence, Carson Wentz could go a long way. And I think Lovie Smith wants to get a pass rusher for his defense. So I say Jermaine Johnson, although if a good receiver is available, I would not be surprised if it's a wide receiver.
I had them taking arguably what people are saying who is the most NFL-ready player in this draft in Kyle Hamilton. Look, I had them taking Trayvon Walker at the 3rd overall pick. I think they even go more on their defense, and they take Hamilton, and those would be two great guys that the Texans can build off of for on their defense with a young start, two young starters like Hamilton and Walker, and again Hamilton already arguably being the most NFL ready player in this draft.
All right, number 14, the Baltimore Ravens. Who you got?
I got the Ravens taking Jordan Davis. I mean, as much as they still need some wide receiver help, I think this defense could definitely you get a good interior defensive lineman in here, and it just makes that defense that much better. And especially when you have a guy like Lamar Jackson who can extend plays, really don't need the greatest wide receivers out there. You got Marquise Brown, sure, and Rashad Bateman was really MIA last year. So, but I think they could easily get a guy in the 2nd round who can fill a spot like that for them. But I think they go Jordan Davis here at the 14th overall pick or 13th, right, whatever they pick.
For the Ravens at 14, I have them taking George Karlaftis, defensive end from Purdue. I think they're just going to go defense here. I think their offense is okay. They're not really big on drafting wide receivers, so I don't expect them to draft another one. And again, you could always use them. The Ravens are very good at, getting pressure on the quarterback. The defense has struggled a little bit, but they also had a lot of injuries last year to their defense. But I think George Karlaftis would be a really good fit for this defense, for this Ravens D. So I say George Karlaftis at 14. Mm-hmm. All right, 15. This is the first of 2 picks for the Philadelphia Eagles. I have them taking Drake London from USC. They definitely could use a wide receiver to pair alongside Devontae Smith. And to me, Drake London just seems like a really good fit for them and for Jalen Hurts. I like the Eagle offense altogether. I thought about a possibility of taking an offensive lineman and a pass rusher, but they signed Hassan Reddick this offseason. They brought back Derek Barnett. So I think they're pretty much loaded in at the pass rushing position. I could also see the possibility of it being a cornerback like a Trent McDuffie from Washington. But for now, I'm going to say it's going to be Jordan Davis. Oh, I'm sorry, Drake London. Sorry about that.
All right, so with my first Eagles pick, I have them taking Devin Lloyd. I like Devin Lloyd a lot. I think he might go higher in this draft, but I think he should go higher in this draft because of how good he is. But with him falling to 15 to the Eagles and the Eagles having no linebackers besides signing Hassan Reddick, you pair Devin Lloyd with Hassan Reddick, I think that linebacking core and defense just gets automatically better.
Okay. All right, 16 for the Saints. Who do you have?
I have the Saints taking Jameson Williams here. They need wide receiver help bad. I think they're going to run with Jameis for this year at least. I think they have a lot of faith in him. and they need wide receiver help badly. I mean, Michael Thomas was MIA last year, being injured, and they had no one else besides him. So at least if you can get Michael Thomas going this year alongside Jameson Williams, yeah, I think that could be a very good pairing for the Saints in the future.
All right, at 16, I have the Saints taking Jordan Davis, defensive tackle from Georgia. I think getting some meat on that defensive line would be really important, especially going up against the Buccaneers with Tom Brady returning. I think the Saints could have an opportunity to possibly win that division, maybe get a wild card. But it starts on the defensive line, and I think that for them, I think their offensive line is pretty set. Yes, I know they need a wide receiver. They will address that in my other pick, as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
You still have Alvin Kamara, and I don't think they're going to be too big into a quarterback, especially after giving Jameis Winston a 2-year deal and having Taysom Hill as well. And they signed Andy Dalton, so I don't think a quarterback is in the cards for them this year. So I say it's going to be Jordan Davis. All right, 17 to the Chargers. I have them taking Trevor Penning, offensive tackle from Northern Iowa. The Chargers don't really need much, in my opinion. They addressed a lot of their problems in the offseason. They brought back Mike Williams. Their offense is one of the tops in the NFL. Their defense, they added Khalil Mack to go with Joey Bosa. They also added somebody else, and I can't remember who it was off the top of my head. But
I got the picture.
I feel like they added like another pass rusher. They have a pretty decent secondary overall. They have, you still have Keenan Allen. It's a team that doesn't need a lot. So I think the best way to go is just to draft an offensive lineman. They drafted one last year with Rashawn Slater. Now I think you had one with Trevor Penning. So I say
agreed. Yeah. And I like Trevor Penning a lot. I arguably think he could be the best lineman in this draft class. I think he's just as good as Evan Neal, Cross, and Iguanu. Mm-hmm. Taking Trevor Penning only solidifies this offensive line for the Chargers, like you said, especially when you drafted Rashawn Slater. You put Penning at right tackle. You got your offense. You got your 2 tackles for the next 10 years.
All right, 18 for the Eagles, their second pick. Who you got?
I got them taking Trent McDuffie here, and when you had the Eagles taking which wide receiver at 16?
Drake London.
Yeah, I mean they desperately do need a wide receiver, but I think with how bad their secondary was last year, with especially Darius Slay taking a huge okay, he's not Darius Slay anymore. I think they really need some help at the secondary position. I think Trent McDuffie would be a solid pick here for the Eagles.
All right, at 18, I had the Eagles taking Devin Lloyd. I know you had them taking him 15 for exact reasons. I think he's a great linebacker. He would be great for the middle of that defense. And, there's not really much else that needs to say. He's one of the top linebackers in the draft. And I think it would just be ideal for the Eagles, especially going up against Dallas Cowboys with Dak Prescott, with the Giants. I mean, they're going to be playing some tough teams this year. And I think Devin Lloyd would be – and I think the more pressure you can get on the quarterback, you may not need so much help in the secondary. So I would say Devin Lloyd there. All right, 19 for the Saints. For me, they're going to take Treylon Burks from Arkansas. Similar to why you thought why they were going to draft Jameson Williams is exactly why I think they'll draft Treylon Burks. They need another wide receiver. Jameis Winston definitely is going to need some weapons to go with Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara. Treylon Burks is a tall receiver. He can make he's a good red zone guy. And for me, I just think that's, he's basically the best of the bunch that's left outside of Chris Olave. But I think they like his height more than what Chris Olave can bring. So I would say Treylon Burks, 19 to the Saints.
I got the Saints taking George Karlaftis here, just because they need some defensive help there. There's really outside of Cameron Jordan, and you hope you really hope Marcus Davenport can really find himself this year. So if you could add Karlaftis to that defensive line, I think it would help immensely, because you still have Demario Davis, who's still great. They signed Marcus May. You have Marshawn Lattimore still, and you have Paulson Adebo. So it's not a bad secondary, but if you can bolster up that defensive line with a guy like George Karlaftis, I think it'll help immensely for the Saints.
All right, 20, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Who do you got?
I think. Look, unfortunately, they had the passing of Dwayne Haskins this year, and Ben Roethlisberger retired, which means they only left with Mason Rudolph as their quarterback. And in the situations we've seen Mason Rudolph play, he's not been good whatsoever. So I think the Steelers overdraft a quarterback here, and they take Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati.
I have the Steelers taking Kenny Pickett.
Okay.
I think Kenny Pickett's going to fall to 20 for pretty much the same reasons you do. You have, they're going with Mitch Trubisky this year. It sounds like to me it's just going to be more of a Band-Aid for this year for the Steelers. And I think that they're going to try to draft their quarterback of the future and Pickett. Now, the Steelers to me are a prime team that could trade up in the draft if they really, really fall in love with one of the quarterbacks. I think that's going to be ideal. They might just wait to see how the draft falls, and maybe the one they want falls to them. But it just seems to make sense. I don't think the Steelers need a ton right now. I mean, I think they still have a formidable defense. You could definitely use a cornerback because you still haven't re-signed Joe Hayden. But you still have T.J. Watt as your, one of the top pass rushers in the league. You still have a good offensive line for the most part. You have Najee Harris. You have Deontay Johnson. You have not Juju Smith-Schuster. You have Chase Claypool. Freiermuth. So, you're definitely set in some positions. But I think maybe getting that quarterback to back up Mitch Trubisky would be ideal, and I think Kenny Pickett would be that guy. And then he could take over for Trubisky next year. So I say Kenny Pickett is the pick at number 20. All right, 21 to the Patriots. I have them taking Zion Johnson, offensive guard from college. It just seems like, for me, like a Belichick pick to go with a lineman here. The only other guy I had in this spot, it was between him or Nakobe Dean for the linebacker after they let Kyle Van Noy go. And I don't know if Dante Hightower is back with them. Jamie Collins isn't back with them. So Nakobe Dean could also be an ideal pick for them here. Pairing him with Matt Judon, it could be actually really good for the Patriots. For some reason, I keep getting it in my head they're going to draft an offensive lineman, and I think it's going to be Zion Johnson. Trading for Devontae Parker kind of took them out of the running for a receiver for Mac Jones, so I would say it's going to be Zion Johnson.
I'm going to go with them drafting Garrett Wilson on the sole fact that
you think Garrett Wilson should all the way to 21?
No, I don't. I don't think he should, but I think in this scenario, I think he will, just because of the sole fact that some teams just don't need wide receivers, and the Patriots have never haven't developed a wide receiver in the God knows how long, probably since Julian Edelman. They haven't developed a wide receiver. N'Keal Harriott was a huge bust for them, and like you said, they got Devontae Parker, but outside of Devontae Parker, who they got? Jacoby Myers, Kendrick Bourne. That's really it. That's nothing crazy. If you pair Devontae Parker, and Devontae Parker is nothing crazy either. He's slid off the past few years immensely, and so you get a guy like Garrett Wilson in there to help Mac Jones. It only helps him. Plus, honestly, the Patriots could really go anyone here because they always manage to find guys in the woodworks who will be all stars.
Okay, 22 for the Green Bay Packers. Who do you have?
I got Chris Olave, back-to-back wide receivers, back-to-back Ohio State wide receivers getting picked here. I think it's just simple that they need a wide receiver here. Like they got rid of Devontae Adams is gone. They need a wide receiver. Simple as that.
Well, not only is he gone, but so is Marquez Valdez-Scantling. That's also a big Packers. Sammy Watkins is not going to be able to pick up the slack for them this year. And it's about time you got Aaron Rodgers some help. And I think Olave would be perfect for the Packers. So I agree. He's actually my selection at 22 for exactly the same reasons you have. All right, 23, the Arizona Cardinals. I have them taking Trent McDuffie. The Cardinal defense has definitely been a little bit of a struggle. They haven't, now that they don't have Chandler Jones, there isn't really exactly a good pass rusher this low in the draft. You could go for a reach for a guy like Boye Mafe or Arnold Ebiketie from Penn State. But I think it's going to be Trent McDuffie. I think you help the secondary out. Get another corner in there. Trent McDuffie's a pretty good cover corner. And when you're going up against the Rams twice a year, the Niners twice a year, and the Seahawks twice a year, you're going to want all the help you need in the secondary. So I would say Trent McDuffie at 23.
All right, I got the Cardinals taking Bernard Rainman, the tackle from Central Michigan. I think he's a really good offensive lineman. And the right side of that Cardinals offensive line is horrendous with Will Hernandez and Kelvin Beachum right now going into the season. So when you have a guy like Kyler Murray who can extend plays. You want to especially help him out, at least on the offensive line, and a guy like James Conner, who showed he's like, hey, the injury didn't bother me last year. I'm good to go. I'm a starting running back again, and protect your assets at all costs. And Rainman definitely for the Cardinals at that pick.
All right, 24th, the Dallas Cowboys. Who do you got?
They need defensive line help. They need Dexter. When DeMarcus Lawrence got that extension, he has not lived up to that contract at all. So I think you bring in a guy, the Michigan defensive end, David Ojobu, and have him go alongside DeMarcus Lawrence. And I think that could help this defensive line a lot.
Yeah, the only reason why I don't like that pick is because Ojobu is going to miss the season. So he's tore his ACL at the pro day. So I'm not really a huge. I don't think they would take him there. I think Ojobu is going to fall to like the second round, maybe even lower, because people aren't going to want to take the chance unless it's like a team at the bottom of the draft, like the Bengals, who can afford to like maybe let Ojobu sit for a year and let him, get healthy and then put him in for 2023. For me, the pick is going to be Kenyon Green, the offensive guard from Texas A&M. I think the Cowboys, after losing Connor Williams in the offseason and Lyle Collins as well, I think they're going to try to rebuild their offensive line a little bit. I think they'll start on the interior. So I think it could be Kenyon Green. Don't sleep on it also being Tyler Smith, the offensive tackle from Tulsa, to replace Lyle Collins. But to me, Kenyon Green seems like the right decision to replace Connor Williams on the inside. And I think that'll be the pick at 24. 25 for me for the Buffalo Bills. I don't really know what they need. So I'm just going by just best player available. And I think they're going to address the offensive line and take Tyler Linderbaum, the center from Iowa. Mitch Morse is their starting center right now. How long that is remains to be seen. Linderbaum is easily the best center in the draft. He's also highly regarded lineman by a lot of draft analysts, draft writers, and all that stuff. And the Buffalo Bills could get a potential steal in this spot with Tyler Linderbaum at the 25th pick.
I have them taking Devontae Wyatt, the other interior defensive lineman from Georgia. I mean, look, Ed Oliver's not lived up to what they thought Ed Oliver was going to be. He's decent, but he's not great. And especially, Greg Rousseau wasn't a great last year either. Granted, yeah, they got Von Miller this offseason. So you can only – but, again, Von Miller's another year older, and we don't know how he's going to fare on this defense. So you bring in a guy like Devontae Wyatt, and I think you'll definitely help out this defense.
All right, 26, Tennessee Titans. Who do you have?
I got the Titans taking Linderbaum here. I think you need to bolster up that. I think you need to bolster up that offensive line and protect. And like I said, like I've said about every offensive lineman being taken in this draft, you got to protect your assets at all costs, and you got to protect Ryan Tannehill to the best of their ability.
For me, it'll be Daxton Hill, the safety from Michigan. I think Tennessee really needs to get their defense a little stronger. I know they brought in Harold Landry. I don't think they really need much on offense, and I don't think they're looking to replace Ryan Tannehill at quarterback anytime soon. I think when you're picking at the bottom of the first round, you just go for best player available. Mm-hmm. And, I think they could always use some help in their secondary. So I would say Daxton Hill for them at 26. 27 to the Buccaneers. I have them taking Tyler Smith, the offensive tackle from Tulsa. Mm-hmm. This might be not the greatest pick because they do have depth on the line. They have Tristan Wirfs, so it's hard to say where Tyler Smith will fit in. But I just think from a standpoint of, again, another team that doesn't really need a lot, I think taking Tyler Smith would be the ideal position. Don't sleep on possibly it also being, if he's available, Nakobe Dean or Lewis Seen, the safety from Georgia.
Yeah, I have the Bucks taking Andrew Booth, the cornerback from Clemson. I just think they, again, like you mentioned, like Lewis Seen, they need some secondary help to go alongside Carlton Davis. I mean, Jamal Dean's good, but if you can, again, you add another cornerback to that depth already, I think they'll be looking good for the future.
All right, 28 to the Packers. What do you got?
I got them taking Zion Johnson here. Again, you got to protect. You showed that you have a good running back duo in A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones last year. Plus, you already have Aaron Rodgers coming back. So again, protect Aaron Rodgers, make those holes open for your linemen. And Zion, I think Zion Johnson's going to be the good pick here for the Packers.
All right, I have the Packers taking Nakobe Dean, the linebacker from Georgia.
Mhm.
Packers are a team that don't really need a lot, so they're always competing they're always in the playoffs. They're always in lately. They were in the championship game. I know they had an early exit this past playoffs, but they're pretty much they have a pretty solid offensive line. They have a pretty good running back tandem of Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. They've already addressed wide receiver Chris Olave with their first pick. So I think you just go for, just another position player. And I think Nakobe Dean would be perfect for this defense. So I would say Nakobe Dean. All right, 29, the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they replace Tyreek Hill with this pick because his back-to-back picks. And I say they take Christian Watson, wide receiver from North Dakota State. He's got good speed. Tall. I think he's exactly the type of receiver that Patrick Mahomes will want. I mean, it's going to be a tall task to replace a Tyreek Hill, but I think with the addition of Valdez-Scantling, to go with Kelsey, to go with Mecole Hardman, having a guy like Christian Watson, I think would be a nice weapon for Patrick Mahomes at 29. So I'm saying he's going to take Christian Watson.
I also have the Chiefs taking a wide receiver, but I have them taking Sky Moore, and basically, literally for the same reasons why you said they would take Christian Watson. Replacing Tyreek Hill is going to be no easy task, but Sky Moore, I think he has the speed, he has the agility, and I think he could be a great asset for the Chiefs to at least attempt to replace Tyreek.
All right, number 30, the other pick for the Chiefs. Who you got?
I got Kaiir Elam, the cornerback from Florida. I think he could be a very good cornerback in this league, and especially with Tyrann Mathieu still on the open market, they need to replace. They need some help in that secondary. So I think Kaiir Elam will be the pick for the Chiefs, their second pick.
All right, I also have them going corner at 30, but I'm going to have them taking Andrew Booth Jr. from Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
The Chiefs' defense was definitely very vulnerable last year, especially in the secondary. They did lose Travarius Ward this offseason. I know they brought in Justin Reed for the secondary, but I think having a corner replace Ward would be the ideal move at this point. And I think Andrew Booth Jr. But also don't sleep on the possibility of a pass rusher going this low, like I said, and Arnold Ebiketie from Penn State or Boye Mafe from Minnesota. So I would say it's Andrew Booth Jr. All right, final two picks of the first round, Klim.
All right, I think the Bengals pick is a no-brainer here. You saw how bad the offensive line was last year, and you saw how bad it was during the Super Bowl. And I think they go Kenyon Green here, the guard from Texas A&M. Just you got, like I said about whoever I said about it earlier, you got to protect your quarterback at all costs. You don't want Joe Burrow to turn into another Andrew Luck kind of situation. Get an offensive line in there and protect his ass.
They've addressed the offensive line this offseason. They added Lyle Collins. They added the guy from Tampa Bay. I forgot his name. But I think they're going to take Lewis Seen here, the safety from Georgia. I know they brought back Jesse Bates. They franchised Jesse Bates. They're going to probably get a long-term extension done with him. But I think you can never have enough help in the secondary. And the Bengals pass defense wasn't that great last year. I mean, it was good, especially for the Super Bowl run. But I think it could always get better. They don't really need a pass rusher thanks to Trey Hendrickson having a huge season for them. I like their linebackers. Obviously, they don't need receiver help. They don't need running back help. They don't need really much of anything outside of offensive line or secondary. So I would say Lewis Seen would be the pick for me, especially after they made the additions this offseason, adding Lyle Collins for the tackle spot, and then they added the guy from Tampa Bay, and I cannot remember his name off the top of my head. So, but I would say it's going to be that. And my last pick for the first round, Klim, the Detroit Lions, they're going to get their quarterback here at 32, and it is going to be Matt Corral.
Agreed. Couldn't agree with you more.
This just seems like the ideal spot for them to take a quarterback. They do like Jared Goff, so I don't see them taking a quarterback number 2 overall. Matt Corral can sit behind Goff for a year and then possibly take over the job next year for the Lions, depending on if they feel like he's ready. But, the Lions are a team that need a lot of help, too. They could go with a wide receiver here, maybe a guy like Jahan Dotson from Penn State. They definitely need some help for Amon-Ra St. Brown. But I don't know. This just feels like being at the very bottom of the first round. It just makes all the sense in the world. Now, listen, they could also, depending on how it falls, they could take a player at 32. They know the Jaguars aren't going to take a quarterback with the first pick of the second round because of Trevor Lawrence. So they could easily wait until the second round to draft their quarterback as well if they really wanted to go that round. But for me, I think it's going to be Matt Corral with the 32nd pick. Oh, sorry, you said the same. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I said the same. Yeah, I was wondering
why it's not. I was like, why wasn't I saying anything? All right, well, that is our Moffett on the Mic 2022 NFL mock draft. We are guaranteed to get a lot of these picks wrong, but if those are our picks. So for me, just to recap, just the Jets and Giants picks, I have the Jets taking Kayvon Thibodeau at 4 and Jamison Williams at 10. And I have the Giants taking Evan Neal at 5 and Sauce Gardner at 7.
Yeah, for me, I had the Jets taking Kayvon Thibodeau and Sauce Gardner at 4 and 10. And the Giants taking Ikwanu and Jermaine Johnson.
All right, there you have it, folks, and that will do it for this episode of the Moffett on the Mic show for this Monday night. I'd like to thank everybody for checking us out. Again, follow the show on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, or follow Klim and the A1 Sports Network on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You can comment. You can subscribe to our show on Apple Podcasts. Like and comment and leave us a 5-star review. Klim, are we back next week, or are you going to blindside another last-second change?
No, we should be.
All right. So we should be back next Monday night right here on the A1 Sports Network, hopefully with a guest. We're working on trying to get either Jake Asman or Taylor Dahl, or maybe we get both. Maybe we catch a break and we get both, and we'll do our draft recap from this weekend. Everybody, wherever you are, stay safe. Enjoy the NFL draft. This is the time of year we've been waiting for, right? And we've been waiting, and we're only a few more days away from the NFL draft. So enjoy the draft. Enjoy the rest of the week. Enjoy everything. We'll be back next Monday night right here on the A1 Sports Network. Have a great week, everybody. See you next Monday.